Okay, moving on to urinary word roots. So these involve the urinary system, obviously the urinary system. So let's begin. Let's start with cysto. We think of cysto and we automatically think of a cyst, like a sebaceous cyst, but that's not what cysto means. A sebaceous cyst acts kind of like what this structure is that cysto means, but it's something completely different. It holds something completely different. So cysts will hold sebaceous cysts will hold something like pus or excessive sebaceous fluid inside of it, stuff that kind of gets trapped by this membrane inside of it to kind of hold stuff inside of it. So a cyst, like a sebaceous cyst, is kind of like a jail, if you will. So it detects that there's some sort of infection or something inside of it. It develops this membrane around the infection just to hold it inside, and so it doesn't get out and affect everything else. Now, with cysto, a sebaceous cyst is really similar to what cysto means. So we think of a cholecystitis, inflammation of, think back to your digestive system, right? Cholecystitis means inflammation of the gallbladder. Okay, so cysto means bladder. Okay, so regular cystitis is inflammation of the gallbladder. So a bladder, what cysto means, bladder is just something that holds fluid inside of it. Okay, so like the gallbladder is going to hold bile inside of it. The urinary bladder holds urine inside of it, and that's all it does, right? So a cyst, a sebaceous cyst, holds other fluids inside of it, like sebaceous fluid, like sebum. Okay, so cysto, like cystitis, has nothing to do with an actual cyst. It's inflammation of a bladder. Okay, so cholecystitis, inflammation of the gallbladder. Urinary cystitis, inflammation of the urinary bladder. If you just see regular cystitis, it's going to refer to the urinary bladder. Okay, moving on. Nephro, like nephritis, epinephrine, norepinephrine. What do you think? Nephro. Where do we find nephrons? What organs do we find nephrons in? Do you think? What organs? Notice I said organs. Use that plural. There are two of them. What are there two of in the urinary system? Kidneys, right? Nephro means kidney. We have nephrons in kidneys. Nephritis, inflammation of the kidneys. Pyelonephritis, inflammation of the kidneys, the pelvic floor of the kidney. Usually a bacterial infection. Epinephrine. Using our medical terminology, we can break down the term epinephrine pretty easily. Epi means above. It's where the adrenal glands are, right? Above the kidneys. Neph means kidney, and rin means secrete. So secreting above the kidney. So it's just that easy. You got to know your medical terminology. I cannot stress that enough. Make sure you know your medical terminology. So if you see a term like epinephrine, you can just break it down really easily. Then you know at least what organ or what gland makes epinephrine, right? Where it's located. Anyway, so I go off on tangents. You have to excuse me. It's that important. Medical terminology is that important. Okay, pyelo. Moving on. Pyelo. Like pyelonephritis. I kind of just gave it away. It means renal pelvis. So the bottom portion of the kidney is the renal pelvis, and pyelonephritis. It's usually a bacterial infection that gets into the kidneys due to something like cystitis moving up from the bladder through the ureters into the kidneys, and it can be a pretty serious condition. Anyway, pyelonephritis, renal pelvis. So speaking of renal, not just where I live, but it's a medical term as well. Renal, like renal failure or adrenal glands. What does reno mean? Reno also means kidney. So another one of those terms another one of those word roots that has the same definition. So nephro and reno both mean kidney. Okay, so renal failure is kidney failure. The adrenal glands are toward the kidneys. Toward renal, kidney. Okay. So just remember, those are the same terms. Okay. And then uro, like urology, uremia. What about, well, I guess that kind of is the definition. So urology, study of what does the urinary system produce? Urine, right? So uro means urine. So urology is the study of urine, the urinary system, essentially, all the structures in the urinary system and what they do, and how urine is actually produced. Uremia, an excessive amount of urine or uric acid in the blood. Not a good thing. So anyway, that about wraps up the urinary word roots.